back again. It's another fun-filled episode of the Main Street Randyland YouTube channel. Hooray! Oh, Lord help us. Well, what are we doing today? I don't know. I'm over here at the Retro Arcade, and my film guy came over, and he was ready to film some films, and I says, well, you know, I was just about to close, and I figured, you know, that could be an episode, because nobody knows really what goes on. I see, this is my spot. I sit here. Those who follow my Facebook, they kind of know this stuff, but if you just follow my, YouTube channel, you might not know. This is where I like to sit in my arcade because I can see this way, and I can see straight ahead, and I can see pretty much most things that are going on in the arcade and react to them. And I can also run and take care of my winners at Fascination. But there's nobody here right now. So first thing we're gonna do for closing procedures is turn off the music so that you don't get hit with any copyright claims. Can you imagine that? And you know that music runs on really high-tech stuff? It's a DVD, that's right. I burned a DVD of all the fun music I like to play in the arcade, and I just run it over and over and over again because I like to do things on DVDs because you have a hard disc that you can take out and you can take with you. As we walk through the arcade, the first thing I gotta do for closing is I gotta close these side doors so that nobody sneaks in on us. And everything has a story. You see these buckets of cement? Ah! People throw their garbage on that. That's not a garbage can, it's cement. And I have these buckets since 1999. I inherited them. You had inherited them. When I bought the Woolworths building, these buckets were there because somebody used to use them to hold open the doors at Woolworths. And I remember a lady from a couple stores down, when I bought the Woolworths, had come over and said that she wanted those buckets. And I was like, they belong to the Woolworths. What's going on? I called the realtor and I said, do these buckets belong to anybody? He says, no, they belong to Woolworths. They're yours. You bought the building. So I still have them. Can you imagine somebody coming over wanting the buckets? Well, I kept them. And there's 4 of them, and I've only got 2 of them over here. The other 2 were over at Woolworths. So you see, you gotta save stuff. Even the buckets filled with dried cement. This is life in the amusement business. Everything can have a purpose or be repurposed. So now I can check to see that nobody snuck in that way. And as I walk my way out, I say to myself, monitor went out on my 6-gun select. So that's gonna be a job. I have just a line going across, and it's a vertical collapse. Could be a transistor, more likely a resistor, something burned. It's not a connector. I thought that was a possibility too, but it's another monitor job, and it's a pain in the neck. You gotta pull it all out and do it, so that's a winter job. Thank God it made it through the winter. So I make my way up here. I usually close these doors, but I'm not gonna do that because we're gonna come back. This monitor's looking a little red. I'm gonna have to change this monitor because it's fickle. It doesn't like to come on all the time here. These are winter projects. Lucky, Ducky, Lucky, Plucky, Clucky, and Crispy. So I make my way out. Everything else is good. And here we are out on the boardwalk. Now this is my favorite time on the boardwalk. You know why? There's nobody here. And you know, this time of year, the weather is so delightful. I have a sweatshirt on, but it's a little nippy without a sweatshirt. But you know what? It's beautiful. The air is easy to breathe. And I pull my door down. And then the best part, the very best part, is I have to get down on my hands and knees. And you see, look, people spit their gum. Can you see that in the shadows? Gum, gum, gum. There's 3, 4 gums there. All the slime that people do. This is why I like it when it rains. And I have to press on this and yank that over and get that in there. And then I gotta slam it. And that's the outside lock. You see the fun stuff I get to do here? All because I make the big bucks. But it's all worthwhile because now look, here we are. I've got the whole boardwalk to myself. I could fly all the way down. There's 2 people all the way down there, and 2 people all the way down there, and that's it. Just me and my boardwalk. And you know, I'll tell you something. This reminds me of my favorite time when I used to work at Walt Disney World in Florida. I was Main Street operations, and I used to like the later hours, so I used to close. I was closing street most nights. When I was closing street, I was the last operations guy on duty. That was it. All the other lands closed first. Main Street was last. I'm it. And after the last person is out the gate and it's clear with security, I have the whole street like this empty boardwalk, completely empty, Main Street, USA, with the castle down on the end and not a soul. All the lights are on and the buildings are lit with their trim and the area music's playing. And after I finished everything and everything's tidied for the night, all whatever sign outs are done, I now have to walk all the way down to the other side of the castle to the locker room to get dressed and get my car, which is even beyond that, and then drive home. But I used to walk right down the middle of Main Street, making believe this is the trolley tracks. That's my walk right up to the castle. I'd walk right up the middle of Main Street, nobody to bother me, any place. It was mine. And I'd make my way all the way down. When I would get to the hub in front of the castle at the plaza, I would make the circle, get to the front of the castle, go up the side ramp, up to the center of the castle, and if I still had my keys with me and I had my A1 key, I'd go over to the castle elevator and I'd use my key to open the door, and I would take the elevator down from the center of Cinderella Castle down to the tunnel corridors. And once you get into the corridors, it's a different world. You're no longer in the magic. And now you walk to the locker room and you get changed and you go to the employee bus stop and you take the bus to the cast parking, and then you take your car and you drive. At that time it was dark backwood roads through the orange groves. It took me 23 minutes, notice the number, 23 minutes from cast parking to my driveway, right where I lived over by SeaWorld. So I used to play a tape in my car of one of the shows that I watched all day long, and they usually run for almost 23 minutes, and it was perfect timing. When the show would be over, I'd be home. So this reminds me of those days, and I love it. You know, I really did enjoy working at Walt Disney World. What took me away? People ask me, why did you leave? Because I had to buy Fascination. If you remember the story, there's an episode about Fascination. The man who threw me out when I was a kid called me up in Florida and he wanted to sell the Fascination. And I ended up buying out the man who threw me out when I was a kid. You gotta do that. You can't not do that. You have to do that. So I changed from a permanent status and I became a seasonal. Went up to New Jersey, took over Fascination, and I still came back to Walt Disney World during the winters for several seasons and filled in for them, especially around Christmas time. It was a great period. Now I go in my side door, and at this point, I would start going around turning off all the machines and closing out. But I'm not going to do that because we have more videos to film. But I thought you just might be interested to see all the things that are part of the Main Street Randyland collection series right here in the arcade, and how I got to close them down each night. Opening is the opposite, but I can't open it with nobody around. This is the way it is. So I guess we'll see you next time. We got to shoot more videos. The Main Street Randyland YouTube channel. Bye, guys. Bye.